and now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Madam President. We're grateful to the Special Representative of the Secretary General, Zaklevork Zauda, as well as the Commissioner for Peace and Security of the African Commission, Samuel Shergi, for their informative briefings. We share the goal of the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, of strengthening the development and cooperation of the UN and the African Union and the sub-regional organizations of Africa. The challenges facing the African continent and the international community dictate the need to unify our efforts and to use the comparative advantages of our organizations. We see opportunities for closer cooperation between our organizations. We welcome the efforts of our African partners in resolving the conflicts on the African continent. We note with satisfaction the noteworthy increase in the activity of the African Union and sub-regional organizations in this area, including in the area of creating a continent-wide architecture for peace and security. There's no doubt that to effectively overcome crises on the African continent, an approach is needed that combines, first and foremost, the leading role of the Africans themselves, that they should determine how to resolve conflicts and what is the most effective support for these efforts from the international community. We support the approach African solutions for African problems. We'd like to focus our attention on the fact that cooperation between the UN and the African Union should be built in accordance with Chapter 8 of the UN Charter, including such key provisions as compatibility of the activity of regional organizations and maintaining peace and security with the purposes and principles of the Charter, the priority of peaceful means of resolving disputes, receiving a mandate from the Security Council for any coercive measures, and accountability vis-à-vis the Council. Furthermore, it's very important that for each concrete case, tailor-made solutions be developed for crisis situations that are suited for local specific conditions. We are convinced that in most cases, regional organizations better understand the situation in their area of responsibility. At the same time, the Security Council has the main responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. Therefore, its participation in resolving the problems of the continent is also very important. We understand the concerns of our African partners regarding securing funding for African peace operations. It's important to enhance the predictability, reliability, and flexibility in the financing of African operations and joint missions. As a matter of principle, we're not against considering the possibility of increasing the participation of UN in such missions, and we're ready to continue constructive dialogue on this point. At the same time, we believe that it's very important to maintain the current UN procedure for examining and approving budgetary requests and ensure transparency and accountability in allocating and using resources, as well as to provide the participation of UN staff at each stage of planning and practical implementation of the tasks at hand. It's clear that strengthening cooperation between our organizations will no doubt mean that regional organizations will have an added responsibility, and they must be ready to assume that responsibility. Madam President, Russia actively participates in ensuring the material and technical support for peacekeeping, first and foremost in providing aviation services. We, in our country, devote considerable attention to using specialized Russian agencies to train police and military officers from Africa, in particular in the center of the Russian Center of the Institute for Enhancing Qualifications for staff members of the Ministry of the Interior of Russia. There's a program to train peacekeepers. members of law enforcement bodies from Africa have a possibility to train in higher education institutions, as well as to take part in internships for short-term courses to enhance their qualifications in various institutions in the framework of the Ministry of the Interior. We're ready to share with our African partners our experience on the issue of combating terrorism and to implement projects to enhance the capacity of the countries on the continent in combating the threats of terrorism and extremism. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement.